Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mondays with Moss. This is Moss.
Hi, everybody. I'm Judy.
Not sure if you tuned in a number of months ago, but Judy and I did 2 programs on conflicts and relationships. And our response was really good, Judy. We had about 1,500 hits. So when I do it by myself,
Yeah.
I'm pitiful. I get maybe, 50, 60,
Really?
maybe 100, whatever. So Judy and I have been talking lately about a new series that we'd like to offer you, probably for the fall, but we thought we'd run a couple of these episodes in August to see if you like them. And basically, we're going to call them, well, I started with myths and limiting beliefs about love and relationships.
Yeah.
Then I said maybe knots, or then you came up with
Tangles.
tangles.
Tangles. Love tangles.
Love tangles.
Yeah.
So we're going to call this love
Sounds
tangles.
like fun, but it isn't.
Sounds like fun, but it isn't.
Right.
It's like when hair gets tangled
Yeah, kind
and they
of.
try to comb it. My granddaughter Julia, every time her hair gets tangled, goes, ah! Well, that's what this kind of relationship is like when you get into a love tangle. So we're going to talk to you about love tangles. We want to talk to you about the dynamics of it, like what creates it, why it's a big problem, and to separate what we call the limiting belief or the myth from the fact. There's a fact under this myth. Then we want to get to what kind of corrective action can you take.
Okay.
So I thought we could do is I could tell you about an example I had not too long ago with a couple of mine in therapy. And then maybe you and I could talk about our personal love tangle that we had a number of years ago.
Uh-huh.
Does it still bother you?
Not at all.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So recently, sorry about that.
Sorry.
So recently, a few months ago, I was seeing a couple, very educated, and we're doing a Zoom call like this, like a FaceTime Zoom call. And all of a sudden, the wife starts screaming at the husband, see, you never, you should know better. You should know better. And he looked totally stunned, Judy, like he was punched in the head. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? And she said, well, you should know how upset I feel. You should know what I'm thinking and feeling. And you don't, you must not love me.
Wow.
Do you think that's an example of a love tangle?
A big one.
A big one.
It sounds like to me.
What makes
Yeah.
that a big one?
Well, I think when you connect up, you should know.
Yeah.
With your partner, all right? That your partner should know something about you
Uh-huh.
that perhaps you even have never shared. You just assume if they loved you,
Yeah.
they would know this,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then if they don't,
Yeah.
you quickly jump to, you must not love me.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because if you did, you would know how I'm feeling,
Yeah.
or what I'm thinking,
Right.
or what I want.
Now, I don't know how reasonable or unreasonable this sounds to you. If you really love me, look, let's say you have someone in your life who you really love, who obviously loves you, but at times has no idea what you're thinking or feeling. Like me, I have no idea what Judy's thinking or feeling. She says to me, don't you know by now? I said, no, what are you thinking and feeling? And she looks at me with annoyance, but often tells me then what she's thinking and feeling. But I think the point here, when you tie up 2 separate distinctions, one is, if you love me. Interesting question. Do you love me? If you love me. With a conclusion, well, if you did, then you would know how I'm feeling or thinking. And therefore, if you don't love me. That's the love tangle. Okay? Now, let's talk for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, yeah, let's do this. What causes a love tangle? Is it based upon what you just said? Anything else?
Well, I think that's yes, but it goes back much further. I
Uh-huh.
think into our relationships with our parents,
Mm.
primarily people who raised us,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
If a parent, and often it's the mom, but not necessarily, doesn't understand their child, okay, can't read their child,
Yeah,
doesn't resonate with their child, okay, that child will feel unloved.
Yeah.
You know, whether the parent feels they love the kid or not.
Right.
Right. When a child feels like their parent doesn't understand if they're upset or doesn't come to them unbidden when they're feeling bad, they feel abandoned and unloved. I think it has its roots in childhood, actually.
Yeah. Could you relate to that actually for yourself as a child?
Well, I don't know. I haven't really thought about that for a long time.
Because I remember as a kid growing up in Brooklyn, New York. That's where I grew up. I would get really upset about something, age 4, 5, 6, or 7, and my mother would send me to my room, and my mother would not come in to check on me. I'd be lying in my bed, reading a comic book or playing with something, feeling really very miserable, feeling unfairly treated. And what really threw salt into the wound was she would not come in the room and say, I know how you're feeling. You must feel really, really upset. She didn't do that. So I would think about killing myself, throwing myself out the window, not eating her food, stuff that little kids think about. But sometimes...
You were going to show her.
I was going to show her. You know, they say revenge is like taking poison and hoping the other person will die. But I was going to get her back. But that's kind of appropriate for a kid 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 years of age, before they have the ability to think things out. But as an adult, you got to shift from assuming and even hoping or expecting your loved one, your mate, your lover, husband, wife, to know what you think and feel, to a more adult way of behaving and communicating, like, hey, I'm having an upset, let me run it by you and let's talk about it. Something like that. Okay?
Much better if you can express it.
All right, so let's talk about one of our love tangles.
Okay.
I have a faint recognition.
Okay.
Do you remember what it was?
Well, I know I had one.
Yeah.
Okay. So at a certain point, many years ago, I wanted a fur coat.
Yes, I remember that.
And I had this love tangle. I thought, if you loved me, not only would you want me to have what I wanted, but you would want to get it from me. Right.
That was the
Which
tangle.
Clearly you did not.
No, I didn't.
No. And for a long time, I had a lot of upset about that. And very little understanding along with it of the actual reasons why buying a fur coat would have been very difficult for you, which had to do with your history, had nothing to do with me, right?
Yeah, so I was very clear from my end when I felt the pressure of if I loved Judy, I would want to buy her the fur coat, besides her having the fur coat. I had no problem with you having the fur coat. I had the problem with me buying it.
I came to understand that. And it was interesting because when I finally understood that those two things were not related, that you're wanting to buy me something that you really couldn't want to buy because of things that happened in your history, okay? And when I understood that if I wanted a fur coat, I could go out and buy one myself, which was what I did. And then when I told you that that was what I was going to do, you said, "Oh, I want to come with you. That'll be great." It
was a real adventure.
Which was a shock to me.
I loved watching you try it on, walking around, looking really gorgeous. I'm not sure if I signed the check or not. Maybe
God,
you did.
no.
Oh, good. Okay. So that was Love Heart Tangle. I don't know if I got into a love tangle, but I was very, very clear. I could not write the check because I came from a family where things like that were frivolous. Buying fur coats, even buying flowers. My mother was very, very clear that those kinds of things were silly, frivolous, and that was still part of my value system. So I didn't mind Judy doing it. I could appreciate that was part of her value system. I could even support it. I just could not write the check. But once we clarified by talking it out, not by her demanding or accusing me. Well, you did for a while, if I really loved you, if I remember correctly. But once we talked it out, and I understood what that buying of the fur coat meant for you, and I felt badly I couldn't do it. I could support you, And once I knew that you understood my dilemma, I think I was really clear. I would support you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was fun.
It was fine, but really the work was mine because the love tangle was mine.
Yeah.
You know, and once I was able to see that and see that the two things weren't really connected, and it was the child part of me that wanted you to take care of me in essence,
right.
you know, rather than the adult woman who could say, this is something I want, we can afford it, I'm going to go buy it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So maybe all of us have a child inside of us who's demanding, I want what I want now, I want what I want when I want it. And when that part of us takes over because of some strong emotional need or emotional hijack or upset, he gets very demanding. She gets very demanding and says, if you love me, or at least thinks it, then you would do what I want you to do. But basically, it's dominating, it's demanding, it's infantile to think, if you love me, you would do what I want you to do. No, you have a right, all of you have a right to want something, but if you tie it up into a knot or a twister or a tangle, like if you love me, then you would do X, that's when you're going to mess up your relationship. Your spouse is going to become resentful. He or she may give in, but revenge will be exacted at some point. So anyway, that's our first one. That's our first love tangle. If you love me, then you would
do something.
Do something.
Do this, that, yeah,
know how I feel. So,
you would do something. You would feel something.
Right.
You know, you would believe something.
Right.
But you're right. I like what you said about it's a domination.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not really about love at all.
Right. And love is actually communication about I'm thinking about something, I would like something, I would love it if you did this for me. You can make a request, but the other person is entitled to say, no, I don't want to do that. And if it's rare maybe that the other person making the request says, okay, I'll take care of it myself. So you can always rely on yourself to take care of it. I think it's when you become dependent on the other person proving love, that's when you get into the love tangle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
Good. Any other love tangles you want to talk to me about?
Not now.
Okay, we're okay right now?
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about a love tangle. We talked about the dynamic that comes from childhood prior to you having the ability to have perspective and to know how to talk about it other than demanding. The myth is that if you love me, the fact is it's not a fact. I could love you, you could love your mate, and you don't have to do what they want you to do. And the corrective action is act like an adult and talk about it. Hopefully with what we call a soft startup, not a hard startup. Now maybe next week when we talk about this, we'll talk about another love tangle and a soft startup.
Yeah, soft startup, very important.
Okay. So we're going to probably do 2 more of these in August, and then we'll take a little break for our vacation. And if you like it, let us know. And in the fall, we'll work up a series of maybe 7 love tangles that really screw up relationships. Until then, stay out of tangles. We hope. Bye.
Bye.